going through the character profile before you do your outline is really important. We have to care as the reader about that personal journey. Also, it gives you ideas for the origins of your character and how maybe the story can be stronger based on those origins. My name is Proofreader Sandy. I am a writer, editor, and proofreader. Today, I'm going to talk about how to create a character profile for a character who is an animal. I'm actually going to take 8 items from Readsy's outline that they have on their website for free, just to give you some ideas as to the thought process that you want to have when you're creating your character profile for your main character or side characters who are animals. Interestingly enough, the context that I have for this exercise is acting class in college. When I was in college, I took a lot of acting classes. One of them was called Movement for Actors. And we did yoga and we learned how to move our bodies. We learned about anatomy. And in one particular project, we had to perform a monologue. And in preparation for that monologue, we had to choose an animal that character was like to give the character some physicality and kind of have a perspective, or what we would call in improv acting, like a deal, a physical deal. Like, what's your deal? Like who are you? How do you do stuff? So this is all in terms of creating a character. I personally come from an acting background, so I do look at characters in books that way. When you are an author, you are basically a film auteur. You're the one showing us the camera angles that you want us to see as readers. You're the one directing, you're the one casting, you're the one doing all of these things to ensure a good reader experience. And this is something I keep in mind when I'm writing and editing. When you're doing an animal, you want to remember their world, their culture, the things that would probably translate from our world to their world. Obviously, most stories are written from the perspective of humans, but there are those famous books that are from the perspective of animals. A couple of examples include The Art of Racing in the Rain is from the perspective of a dog, and Black Beauty is from the perspective of a horse. 3 books that I'm using as inspiration for my book that I'm doing, which is going to be from the perspective of a cat, are Vulpes, the Red Fox, by Jean Craighead George and John George. This one I actually found in one of those libraries on the street where you take a book and leave a book. I love those so much. But the ones around me don't usually have anything good. But this one was actually a sign for me to go ahead and complete my novel that I want to complete. And interestingly enough, the orange fox has a lot of spiritual significance for me. I've even written a song about an orange fox called Orange Fox. And also I am writing about a cat that has fox-like qualities. So that is one thing that you can start to think about if your animal has qualities of another animal. You can kind of see it from that acting standpoint that I'm talking about. And also, of course, because you're putting an animal in a book, you're personifying them. So you can also think about human traits that your animal is going to have to prepare for this exercise. Another book I'm using for inspiration for my book, it's another fox book, funny enough. It is a children's book, which is not exactly the genre that I'm going for, but it is from the perspective of another orange fox. This one is The Fox and the Falling Leaves by Julia Rawlinson. And it's just so beautiful. And I actually found them both the same day in the same way. So I took it as a sign. And my third is actually from the perspective of a cat. And it is somewhat similar to my story, but it is much shorter. This one is my favorite book in the whole world. Wonderful Alexander and the Cat Wings by Ursula Le Guin. Sorry if I messed that up. But this book, I love it so much, and it's really relevant to the book that I'm writing. So, in terms of your character, whether it's a fox, a bear, put yourself in the position of that animal. The first item on the Readsy character profile template is name. So first we have to think about how we imagine animals in this world that we've created, how animals address each other and themselves. So do the animals in your world actually have names that they give each other? Are they based on nature? Are they based on where they were born? Are they based on physical attributes that that animal has that makes it special in relation to its brothers and sisters or its friends or the other animals in the world? It's important to ask yourself these questions because then you'll get a lot of information as to the identity of that character to themselves. So, like I said, your character can have an actual name, or it can have a description, or it can be nameless. You know, we can have kind of like a Mr. K Kafka-esque thing going on. And it would make sense because an animal doesn't speak our language, right? But in order to maintain that personhood, that personification, and maybe differentiate that animal from different animals or even other characters, maybe human characters, it would be good to give it a name. Now, in terms of a last name, well, you can think about how people historically have named themselves. So in the ancient Roman Empire, people had extensive names that would show the person's status. Also, if they were in the military, it would show their accolades. It might describe physical attributes as well, or kind of like what order they were born in. Are they the first girl? You know, women a lot of times didn't have their own names. They would just kind of recycle names for all the women. Very interesting. You know, in Spain, people have multiple last names. And then historically, it would be like also adding like who the person is married to or even like where they're from. So Spaniards are typically known for having long names, right? The animal might just have one name. It might just have a nickname. It might have an identification with a particular tree that it hangs around in or the environment that it's in. I'm just giving you ideas just to get you thinking. Now, the next item on the printout is age. So what age in the animal's life do you want this story to take place? Well, we have to consider, of course, the lifespan of that particular animal. And at what stage in the development do they start at the beginning of the story? Now, every story is about a personal transformation. So if this is your main character, you want to start them in a place where they are in that place where they believe that lie that we're basically exploring in the novel to get them to see the truth. Because every novel is about some sort of deeper truth, and that's why people relate to great literature, is because it reveals something about our experience that we find to be true. So in order to take a character on that journey, they have to be in some sort of more naive state, if anything. So thinking about the passage of time that you want to have in your novel, just consider how you want that to roll out. Now, the next item on the list is place of birth. So I noticed that a lot of books that have main characters as animals, they describe exactly where they were born. They were born in a den, or they were born in a barn. They go into the origins. They talk about the mother, they talk about the father, they talk about the siblings, because the siblings give us contrast to show the reader how this main character is different, why they're special in relation to their siblings. They can also be living around other animals and just have particular traits that make them special or different. The next item on the list is current location. Did that animal travel from the place they were born? Maybe that's part of the story. Maybe that ties into it. So for me, place of birth and current location, that can be a whole story within itself. Now, the next item on the list is nationality. This ties into what I was talking about with current location, place of birth. What is their identification, right? Like, animals don't have a nationality technically, but they have a connection to the terrain. So think about the climate, think about the vegetation, the types of birds. If it's a cat, they always pay attention to the birds. any animal really pays attention to the birds. The birds are part of the environment. If it's a bird itself, what is it looking down at? What is this place that makes the animal feel home? That to me is a nationality in terms of animals. Education is the next item. Now, obviously, animals don't go to school, but they receive an education from their parents. So you can write down this as part of the backstory. How much did they spend with their parents? How much do they know about hunting? How much do they know about building a dam if it's a beaver? How much do they know about the things that make them that animal? Their instincts are one thing, and then their practice is another. Occupation is the next item. Obviously, animals don't have jobs, but there is a thing that they do. Like I said, what makes them the animal. So cats, obviously, they groom themselves all the time. They know how to do this instinctively. So can you kind of picture them in some sort of profession that makes them, that they can identify with, some sort of role in nature? So with a cat, cats tend to protect people. They love people. They are mouse hunters. They are sometimes little inspectors. You can kind of get creative with this and kind of use this aspect to personify the character even more within their world, to get a sense for their sense of responsibility and duty, which can really, really create a really cool transformational process for your character. Last item that I'm going to go over on this list is income. Now, obviously, animals don't adhere to a monetary system, but there is a sense of economy with animals. Sometimes animals do understand an exchange, and you can get creative with this in terms of thinking about how they think about this exchange. So in terms of income, how well do they store things for the winter? Get creative. How do they have an agreement with an owner where they're the ones who kill the mice and the owner gives them food? So think about how they get food is basically their income. I hope you've enjoyed this video. This is just a video to get your ideas going, to give you ideas. These are things that I've personally been thinking about for my own novel, and also just the way I would guide one of my clients that I'm editing their book. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Please like this video if it resonated with you. Please subscribe for more writing tips. Share this video with someone that you think would benefit. Reach out to me by email in the description if you're interested in writing coaching. Happy writing. I'll see you next week.